fitting right there. You can see, looks like a little torpedo ejector or something like that. That's what we call a submerged signal ejector, for firing pyrotechnics while we're underwater. Noise beacons, so distract the torpedo that's coming at us. Flares, signal flares to say we just fired a fake torpedo at you. Smoke flares to show aircraft where we are. Red flares to say we're sinking. Somebody get that. We've had a flood on board. We're coming up real quick. Get out of the way. All that kind of stuff. Yeah. The anchor would be coming out of there. The forward hydroplanes, which when we're coming alongside, we can tilt up to get them out of the way. And the after hydroplanes back under the water. You can actually see them so shallow. So the main purpose of the casing was to cover up all the gear and equipment that's associated with going to sea. The winch for operating the anchor, the capstans for operating the capstans for bringing in the lines and all that kind of stuff. All the pipe work for the fuel tanks, all the air lines to go to the ballast tanks, all that kind of stuff. All gets covered by the casing to streamline everything, and also gave the crew somewhere to walk when they're on the surface. Unlike a modern submarine, the Oberons were designed to go from point A to point B on the surface. Once they got to the patrol area, then they would dive. So I took the OJIBWA to the west coast in '97. I was gone for 4 months. And out of that 4 months, I was under the water for 3 weeks because we were on the surface the whole time until we got there. I took the these were more efficient on the surface as far as speed and burning fuel, whereas the modern one we're more efficient underwater. It's exposing there the built-in breathing tanks. So if the submarine was stuck on the bottom and the guys had to get out, there's a dedicated breathing system on board that they could use while the compartment was flooded to breathe like diving air to go through the escape tower. Yeah.
How are you?
All right, okay, and the Olympic equipment.
I've never seen him again.
No, me neither.
Surface and it was the middle of February. The guys had to come on out and get ready to come alongside. We'd surface, about 2 or 3 hours out there, and then the casing party would have to come up here and get the boat ready to come alongside, bring up all the bollards, which all sink down in, and bring all this stuff up, get the lines up. There'd be a sheet of ice up here, so they put on a harness and lock it into the rail so they could walk along. So not if they fell over, when they fell over, they just pull themselves back up. Sleep through guys sitting here watching a movie and laughing and talking. It's kind of weird. Even now, if my wife comes to bed after me and she turns off the ceiling fan, I'll wake up just like that because the ventilation has changed. It's just you get trained to it. You ask any of the guys, they'll say the same thing. You're standing on one of the battery hatches. So diesel electric submarine, lifeblood of the boat is the battery. Took me a few years as a mechanical guy to accept that from the electricians, but it's true. 2 battery tanks, 240 cells, I believe, on these boats each. And each cell weighs like about a ton. They're huge batteries. The diesel engines run generators. The generators charge the batteries, and then the batteries run the electric motor for the propeller. So the engines aren't connected to the propeller in any way, shape, or form. Some publications will say, even for the modern ones, that they're direct drive. What that means is that you can discharge as many amps as you're putting in. So we call that floating load, but nothing's actually physically connected. The main vents that you've seen up top, with the valves that open to let the air out, that's the mechanical workings of it right there. So hydraulically operated, hydraulic actuator would rotate this and basically push that piston up and let all the air out of the ballast tank. When we're alongside, we cotter them. So there's a cotter in there to prevent the actuator from turning, and then locked. Once we go to sea, we unlock them, and then when we're ready to dive, a team goes around and pulls out all the cotters. So that's, in that state, we call it harbor cottered.
Did you practice fast dives, Ken?
On this class, yes, because we were always on the surface. So the old here, the klaxon, the diving alarm.
Yeah, yeah. Auga, auga.
It could be activated from the control room or from the bridge. So once we were lined up in that patrol routine, if for some reason the captain gave authority to the guy on the bridge to dive in emergency, he would just hit the alarm up there. The second time he pushed it, a guy like me on the panel, while he's still up there, when I heard him press it the second time, I would open the main vents. I would start diving the submarine. So after you press it that second time, he's got to get his butt down the hole and shut the hatch. So you were diving with the hatch open.
Section, who would live in this section?
So we have two sections of the boat that were dedicated for the junior members of the crew.
Okay.
So this is the forward accommodation, and then back aft you'd have the after torpedo room and the after accommodation. Master seaman and below.
Okay.
So not us, but
Yeah.
like just below us, the guys, the junior guys, the worker bees.
Us back in the day.
Us back in the day. Yeah, this is. I said I spent a lot of my youth was wasted on board this boat.
Ken, in the forward torpedo room, there was kind of an endless chain that I assume was part of the torpedo hoist.
Yeah, actually that was for transversing the hoist port and starboard. So
Okay.
once it would come down, on a rail. So there'd be all kinds of rails hooked up. It would come down. The harness would go around the torpedo with like wheels that didn't turn, big steel circles, and it would come down that rail. Then they would hook the hoist onto it, lift it up, transverse it port or starboard,
Okay.
put it in the rack. And then once it was in the rack, they could hydraulically load it, like push it into the whatever torpedo tube they wanted to.
Was it made of wood? Was that little
The handles probably got wood on it, but the whole thing itself would have been all steel.